Baseball's a brotherhood. Nobody on my team will go public against me.
Ruben Hernandez isn't on your team anymore.
Ruben tries ratting out a former teammate. No ball club in this league will forgive him.
He might not have a choice when we subpoena him.
No way. If Zelensky's given up Ruben, he'd have done it already.
You might not, but I will. You're in a rundown, Roberto. Drop the suit and announce your retirement from baseball.
You out of your mind?
You do it, Zelensky will never mention your name on air again. You don't? Hernandez outs you, and the whole world knows who you are.
So what exactly would stop him from taking the offer, dropping the suit, and then reporting Mike Ross to the bar anyway? Which would be really bad for Mike Ross since he doesn't have a license to begin with. I would say he could get disbarred, but technically he's never been barred. So arrested would be more like it, but I think that's saved for season 4. Hey guys, haven't done a Suits video in a little while and people are starting to get a little upset about it. So I'm doing Suits, but I'm gonna do all of Suits' most iconic moments from season 2 today.
It doesn't make sense for them to foreclose and devalue all their other projects.
Unless they have another agenda.
Huh, I wonder where we could ever find evidence of that. You think that helps us?
I think we can take this to the bank.
I see, that's funny because we're actually going to a bank. It's good.
So the fascinating thing about this plot line right here, the very first fascinating thing is that I look better in a black suit and silver tie than Harvey does, but that's okay, that's a whole different story. The other thing is that sometimes in a case, evidence doesn't come from where you think it's going to. And like, I've spent most of my career doing personal injury, criminal defense, and estate planning, and so for a case like this is well outside my wheelhouse. But essentially, Mike is coming up with some evidence from who's backing these building projects instead of actually getting witness testimony or anything like that. He's just going, hey, look, the finances, we're following the money, go in that direction. So kind of a different world, but actually it does make a whole lot of sense when you think about it. And sometimes that's how it works with the case, is that it's not a witness coming forward or something like that, like a lot of courtroom dramas will try to show you. It's just this, it's follow the money, get the documents, look in the bank accounts.
This is better. This is a win-win.
No, it's lose-lose, and I'm not losing this one. You are not to pitch this to the client.
I can't keep it from him.
You're not hearing me, Harvey. This isn't a discussion. Tell the client, it didn't work. You tried, you failed. Move on.
I'm sorry if Paul's ego is bruised.
This isn't about his ego. It's about yours. Make it go away, and then walk away.
So I don't remember the full context of this. I've seen every episode of Suits, but this one's going back a little ways. But from what it sounds like, Harvey has gotten an even better deal than Jessica wanted. For whatever reason, it sounds like she has multiple pieces on the table and he's focused on just one of those. And he got an excellent deal for the one piece. And he's telling her, it's my obligation to take this excellent deal to this one client. Typically speaking, according to our ethical rules, yeah, it is. If you know of the best way and you are only serving this one client, you have to go to that client and say, this is the best path forward. This is what's best for you, and not be playing all the behind the scenes stuff that we see in Suits and other shows like it. So Harvey here, for once, actually sounds like he's in the ethical right. Harvey plays a lot in the gray zone on ethics, but in this case, it sounds like according to the rules, yeah, he's right.
Motion to dismiss, motion to compel, motion to strike, motion to change venue. And we have another half dozen in the pipeline.
No, they're here.
Oh,
What is this? This was supposed to be a settlement conference.
no, we're not here to settle. We're proceeding to trial.
You want to take this case to trial?
Unless I can't hear the sound of my own voice, I believe that's what I just frickin' said.
We're the little guy. Your parent company is a behemoth. A jury's gonna hate you.
Well, thanks to your disgusting smears in the media, that might be true. Which is why we're also filing a countersuit for libel, slander, and anything else that might be appropriate in this case.
Tortious interference?
This is not good faith, Mr. Lick.
Sir,
Other attorney here, not Lewis, is actually right. This is not good faith. They brought him in for a settlement conference and then start throwing a bunch of motions at him and then threaten him with a countersuit. It's not acting in good faith. Probably not going to get Lewis in very much trouble, really. I mean, scheduling a settlement conference, things change sometimes. Maybe a piece of evidence comes up that you weren't counting on, or a witness comes forward, and then that settlement conference can change a whole lot. So Yeah, it's not good faith, but it's also probably not getting Lewis in any trouble. The countersuit threat is kind of interesting for the slander and libel and all those things. I'll tell you what my civil litigation teacher told us on the very first day of libel class, and that was, don't take those cases. They're really difficult to prove because in slander, libel, defamation cases in general, you actually have to prove a negative. If you're the plaintiff, somebody has said something about you that's not true, you have to prove it's not true. Proving a negative is extremely difficult. So in other words, if somebody says, Jeremy is a thief, that's a terrible libel case, okay? Or a slander case if they said it. It's a terrible case because I would have to go, I'd sue this person, and then I'd have to prove that I've never stolen a thing in my life. Well, how on earth would I even prove that? So the more specific the allegation gets, the easier it is to prove, but still kind of difficult. Instead of, he's a thief, what if it's, Jeremy stole my wallet, and I've never met that person? Well, maybe that's easier to prove. And then you can take it another step if they said, yeah, on January 20th, Jeremy stole my wallet. Well, if I wasn't even in Phoenix or around this person on the 20th, then I might actually have a decent case. But when you put things in the newspaper and it's just articles and reporting, number one, newspapers get a vastly different set of rules than most people do. The other thing is that just proving the general statements that most of the time they're reporting, really difficult to prove a defamation case there.
But I know exactly what it's like to bust your ass every day at a company and be overlooked for a promotion time and time again. It just hurts. Just physically hurts. Right here. Give 110% every day. And for what? So they can just chip away at your dignity? You can be the loyal soldier today. Be the cannon fodder for your bosses. Or you could turn the guns on them right now, and you can just tell me the truth.
We're done here.
So finally, the opposing counsel chimes in after Lewis is, you're at a deposition. Depositions are questions. You're supposed to ask this witness, what's your side of the story? And know what their side of the story is before you get to trial. That's the whole point of a deposition, is knowing what they're going to say. Lewis is basically, I mean, it's not even really testifying. He's just sort of, I don't know, baiting him, trying to dig into his emotions. They're not questions. If he had phrased those things in the form of a question, maybe you could get that in a deposition. The rules for a deposition are really broad. So maybe he could get in something like, do you know what it's like to be passed up for promotion time and time again at a company? Has that happened to you at your current company? You could probably get something like that in, but this pseudo testimony or just basically baiting that Lewis is doing, opposing counsel should have been objecting a lot earlier.
Let him finish. Something's coming. We have three choices here. We move forward with the suit, lose-lose. We can give you your money back plus the $500,000, or you and I can play poker for it. And I'm not giving you your money back.
Okay, so look, I know it's a TV show. I know it's for fun, right? Harvey just got power of attorney signed over to him for him to make this decision, these settlement decisions, and he's literally gambling it. I don't know if I can think of anything more unethical to do in that situation, except for maybe just give the company to the other guy and just forfeit it for whatever reason. But literally gambling it, probably not do that. But hey, super fun show. Makes for a really dramatic moment.
Let's play.
You think you can bait me into calling you when you got me beat? You're gonna have to do better than that.
You're right, Tommy. I do have you beat. These cards, they don't have anything to do with it.
The thing that I like about the character of Harvey here, yeah, he went to Harvard and he was super smart and, graduated toward the top of his class and all of that. But Harvard has this theme of play the man, not the hand. And really, that's pretty legit in law. You know, a lot of times you're sitting across the table from somebody that might have, you know, what's considered to be a better degree than you, might have more experience than you, but you've got to sit down at that table and know you're the best attorney in that room. And so sometimes that means you're playing the man, not the hand. So I actually really like that about Harvey and think, yeah, even though it's super dramatic and fun to watch, I think it's actually legit for the practice of law.
And sometimes we lose.
Sometimes? Look, I don't know about you, but I feel like that's all we've been doing lately. Hardman's back. Donna's gone. We're being sued. I mean, we're fighting for our goddamn lives here. I just had a huge win, and I am not in the mood to hear why it might have turned out as a loss.
Harvey. You're right. We are being sued. And our backs are against the wall. And I need to know that this bullshit is out of your system and that you can focus. Can you do that?
What's interesting about this conversation is all the win and lose. Law, a lot of times you don't win or lose. Sometimes you lose in the most graceful way possible, which is actually a win. In criminal defense, a lot of times I have to tell my clients, okay, we're going to lose in the most graceful way possible because it's just not on our side here. They have a really bad case and they say, well, you know, I want to take it to trial, you know, because I don't like the plea. And I go, look, you can take it to trial, but it gets way, way worse. And so you negotiate a better deal, a better plea, and that's actually a win. You got a really good plea for somebody that was up against, you know, say 10 years if they went to trial, and you got them maybe a year and a half. That's a win, even though the guy's guilty and just admitted to it. So in the practice of law, it happens in civil litigation too, really. I mean, you know, if somebody's being sued and they're suing them for, say, you know, $10 million and you negotiate a settlement for 1.5, that's a win. So yeah, it's not always a win and a loss. It's not always black and white. It's a lot of times in the gray as to, did you actually win for this client or was this a loss? Sometimes it's just you lost in the most graceful way possible, and that was the best that you could do under the circumstances.
You really only drive 65?
Into school zone. Solis doesn't need the money. What do you want?
Driving 65 in a school zone is criminal speed in Arizona. Don't do that. Really bad idea.
You're not the commissioner of baseball.
Yeah, well, the commissioner could never get my ratings.
Okay, Mr. Zielinski,
See, finally, someone who treats me with respect.
we can't claim that you're just offering up opinions anymore. If you don't apologize, we have to show that you have a factual basis for accusing Solis of doping.
Of course I did.
Then give us your source.
What kind of career do you think I'd have if I give that up? I'll tell you what, non-existent.
Exactly like your source.
Harvey, please.
Okay, that's it. Instead of bugging me to give up my guy after I already told you no, why don't you do your damn job and win this case?
Win the case without the best piece of evidence that there is available. This guy actually has a source and doesn't want to give it to his attorney, who is protected by attorney-client privilege. Well, no, the attorney's not. The client is protected by attorney-client privilege. So anything that he tells them, they can't share with anybody else without the client's permission. So I don't know why he wouldn't say, this is the source and this is why I can't tell you about it, and at least let them put a spin on it. Well, actually, let me correct myself. Yes, I do know why they wouldn't do that, because it's a courtroom drama and this way is a whole lot more fun. You just resolve it the other way and that's not as much fun to watch. But in a real life situation, you say, hey, look, we've got privilege. Tell us who it is and let us see what we can find around that. And if there's any other evidence around that that we can present to the other side to get them to back off. But like I said, this way's a whole lot more fun.
Baseball's a brotherhood. Nobody on my team will go public against me.
Ruben Hernandez isn't on your team anymore.
Ruben tries ratting out a former teammate. No ball club in this league will forgive him.
He might not have a choice when we subpoena him.
No way. If Zielinski's given up Ruben, he'd have done it already.
You might not, but I will. You're in a rundown, Roberto. Drop the suit and announce your retirement from baseball.
You out of your mind?
You do it, Zielinski will never mention your name on air again. You don't? Hernandez outs you, and the whole world knows who you are.
So what exactly would stop him from taking the offer, dropping the suit, and then reporting Mike Ross to the bar anyway? Which would be really bad for Mike Ross since he doesn't have a license to begin with. I would say he could get disbarred, but technically he's never been barred. So arrested would be more like it, but I think that's saved for season 4.
And by the way, everyone will think the same as he does.
You gave him up to save your own ass.
That's a lie.
Doesn't matter, they'll think it anyway. But hey, that's just one man's opinion. You want to protect your source? Take the deal.
Harvey wins so many cases by seeing a way out and then essentially putting his own client's balls in a vice and making them take it. I've never even heard of an attorney doing that. You know, I didn't practice in New York. I've never practiced in New York and never been on the 50th floor of a skyscraper and a practice like this. I don't even know if we have 50-floor buildings in Arizona. I'm pretty sure our tallest one is like 30-something stories. Anyway, so yeah, maybe something like that goes down in New York, or maybe it happens in the shady background of Arizona here, but I've never seen it.
How could you not tell us that?
Because Harvey said not to.
But you said you weren't drunk. You said ask everyone.
You could have. I was alone. I get high all the time and no one ever knows.
Oh my God.
What's the matter? You said this was a done deal. It is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a done deal.
So I remember this episode and I was really surprised at the facts. If I remember right, that guy, the defendant, that was just talking to Mike Ross was high and he had gotten charged with hit and run because he hit somebody, they died, and he fled the scene. So the police didn't make an arrest at the scene of the crime. They didn't arrest him until maybe the next day. But I thought, why on earth wouldn't the police take a blood sample at that point? If they had any idea or that drugs were involved in the case, why on earth wouldn't they have taken a blood sample, which you could still find most drugs in their system well after they were taken? So I always thought, man, why didn't they do that? That happens in almost every case like this one that I have actually worked. So probably in real life, that deal doesn't happen because they would know that he was in fact high at the time.
How exactly did you come to know that?
I can't tell you that.
Thank you, Mike.
And then coming right into Mike breaking attorney-client privilege, or in this case, not attorney-client privilege because Mike doesn't have an actual license, but no one else knows that at this point. So Mike just goes in and shares the information with, that girl's the prosecutor at this point. Later on, she comes to work for the firm. Sorry, spoiler alert. But she's a prosecutor at this point, and he just gave up one of the most damning pieces of evidence to the prosecutor, maybe knowing that she can't do anything with it because it was privileged information, so she wouldn't be able to use it in court. His client could object to it if if the prosecutor tried to use that information in court. The court would want to know where the information came from. So I don't know what this character would be trying to accomplish there. Gonna just chalk this one up to it's fun to watch on TV.
Nicholas Palermo.
You seated. City of New York versus Liam Coulson.
I am happy to report the state entered into a plea agreement with the defendant last night. You have a copy of the terms, Your Honor.
Everything appears to be in order. The agreement is approved. Community service starts Monday.
Okay. When you take a plea agreement, you don't just give it to the judge. The defendant, this is how it works in Arizona, and I've never heard of it working differently in any other state. But the defendant actually has to be in the courtroom, and they have to give some evidence, some verbal testimony that they actually understand the agreement that they've entered into. Generally speaking, a plea agreement starts off with, okay, we call the case, this is the case number, both of the attorneys announce, she's working for the state, or he's working for the defendant, and the defendant says, I'm here and this is my birthday, identifies his or herself. And then the judge will say, okay, I've got a copy of a document here. It looks like a plea agreement and it has a signature on the last page. Is that your signature? Yeah, okay. And then they go through the terms of the plea and make sure everything is what the defendant thought it was, to make sure that some slick attorney didn't want to just get this case off of his desk and say, yeah, just sign at the bottom, don't worry, it's a really great deal. They've actually got to know what is in that plea agreement. And the judges will go over it almost line by line. Here we just say, oh yeah, you got a copy of the plea agreement there, Your Honor, and he just goes, okay, good to hear it, we're done. Doesn't happen in real life. I suppose it's more fun, or at least more quick, for the courtroom dramas like this one.
What's wrong?
What's wrong? A man is dead. You killed him, and I have to live with it.
And you think I don't know that? I get to go back to my life like nothing happened. Something did happen. It makes me sick.
It should.
Is that why you came here? To make me feel worse?
You've been given a gift that you don't deserve. So you better clean yourself up and figure out a way to make up for Albert Chung.
Not a bad way to resolve that situation. Mike doesn't have much more of a choice. He already tried to break privilege to actually out this guy, and that didn't even work. So go to the guy himself and say, hey, you didn't deserve this shot, but you got it anyway. So turn your life around and do better. Not much more you can do than that. So there you have it, some of the top moments of Suits Season 2. Hope you enjoyed it.